connect and do it. It wasn't working. It wasn't getting past. I was going on a reboot loop. You know what? Fuck you. Don't fucking laugh at me, okay?
Wait, can I suggest? Can I?
You know, I'm sorry that I fucking come into this dead-ass stream talking about music, some fucking dropout, okay?
Can I?
Give me you weightlifting more.
No, I have one.
Dan, no, I want to die.
Dan, I have one serious. Dan, can I do one serious suggestion? I'm actually curious. You should try this, okay?
What?
You should find out what the MAC ADDI is on the rented modem, and then spoof that on one of your other modems and see if it connects.
First off, I don't think you can do that because you don't have access to changing the MAC address on cable modems. On routers you do, not on cable modems.
Never mind. It used to be that they would lease an IP to the first MAC address behind a modem, but now they're all combos today, so I don't know. No, you might still be able to. You should get in. I don't know. On some surfboards, I think you might be able to spoof the MAC ADDI. Or I say spoof, but they just let you change it. But maybe not. Yeah. But I'm just curious if it would work.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you can.
Dude, Dan called them and was like, "Stop capping with my internet for real, for real."
Is that what you said?
On a stack, I'll switch to Comcast. My internet off that.
That's everyone who was laughing at your fucking stupid ass joke, Tabor. Right
My
there.
internet off that perk 30, bruh. Yeah, not the perk right now, dog.
Dan, are you actually off the perk?
The perk 30s will do stuff.
Both of you guys are old as fuck. I don't know why.
Dan, if me and Melina and Lucas and Peach and everybody all got together and did drugs, could you do it with us, Dan?
No.
Man, come on, wouldn't it be a fun time?
God knows what fucking. I don't know. No.
What? What? What are you saying?
What fucking drugs are you guys even gonna all do?
Why do you think he makes bear jokes all the time? When he did drugs in the Coast Guard, that was his nickname, was Dan the Bear.
Is that true, Dan?
No.
Prove it.
He
Listen,
killed,
here's the
he
deal-
killed his drill sergeant for talking back to him.
The deal with me in drugs is I haven't done anything. I mean, I've told this to you before. I haven't done anything since I was like 18 because I had.
Wait, no cap on a stack?
All right.
You left.
Tabor, why do you do this? Tabor.
For real. You tripping.
Bro, I'm actually worried sometimes that he actually
Bro,
is.
this VC off the
that
perky,
he's
bro.
actually off the perky.
Tripping for real.
Tabor, what are you
Dead
doing?
ass. I've never seen a man act like that before. Whew. Wow.
An enemy has been slain.
Oh, man.
R.I.P. Bozo.
Okay, I gotta call.
Okay.
I'll show you, dude. Be careful, okay? I love you, buddy.
Rip Bozo. Ratio, Dan. Get fucked, loser.
No cap on a stack?
Hello.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Oh, you know, fine. How's it going for you?
Doing okay. Just
How's your Empire game? I assume that's what the V stands for.
Central Empire?
Vampire.
It's the Empire.
Is it? I'm playing a Blood game too. So that's neat. Mine's older though. It needs a PC port.
Wait,
So anyway.
is Bloodborne really still console exclusive?
Yeah, that's what everyone was hoping for the new announcements to be, was that Bloodborne might finally make it a PC, but then they said it was Spider-Man, the PS4 game, and it's just like, alright, that's fine.
Is that like
I
the
guess.
only console exclusive Souls game?
That's a good question, because it might be. Someone in chat's gonna know better than me on this one, but it's just the one that I want on PC. It's annoying that it's capped to 30 and it barely even reaches that most of the time. A game this popular should not be restricted to one console. It's too much power to be put into a tiny place.
Probably exactly why they restricted it, huh?
Sure, but like at this point, I'm pretty sure someone's told them they can make a shit ton of money. They would have realized that from like they've been releasing loads of console exclusive games like God of War and stuff like that lately. So we'll see. I always assumed it was more so like spaghetti code type shit where they don't even know how to port it over. It's too old or there's rights issues or something because it just seems like the obvious thing they would have done by now. Fucking love this game. Did you ever play it?
Yeah, of course I beat it. I played it back in the day, okay? You guys don't know what Bloodborne used to be.
What do you mean? I
like.
played it back in the day too.
Did you?
I'm not that young.
Shit. If you got it,
All around, unbridled praise, everything, everywhere, all at once.
if you got it back when it was like first coming out, before the first big patch, anytime you died, the loading screen would take like fucking like 45 seconds, unironically, because it was like reloading like every single asset in the game before it let you back into, you know, whatever zone. I remember there's some boss called Fight for Amelia that I tried to beat really early on, and every time I died, I would have to wait like a fucking minute.
God, that sounds like so much fun. That sounds like a lot of From Software's games on release.
Maybe.
But hey, they're getting better now. Like Elden Ring worked on release. How about that?
Yeah,
I can't believe you fucking desperately tried to beat that boss without taking a hit at the beginning. That's some dedication right there. You just doing that to torture yourself?
What do you mean tried to? I did beat that boss. Okay, so fuck you.
Every time like I saw your streamers, I was like, "Has he done it yet?" And I was like, "Oh shit, you actually did it this time."
Yeah.
And then you watch like the one that you do it, and it's just exactly what you'd expect. It's like you've learned all the moves. It's like, all right, good job, proud of you. Which one's your favorite out of the Souls game?
Bloodborne was really cool. Dark Souls 3 was really cool. I really like Dark Souls 3 and I really like Bloodborne. I'd say those. Sekiro was also really cool as well.
That's the only one I haven't played, and I never hear the end of it.
It's a good one.
I mean, I think it's really good. Is that, like, because it's like noticeably different, plays different, right, from the rest of them?
Kind of, a little bit. Combat's a little different, but it's very, very much a Souls.
Well, anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about was the things I didn't get to talk to you about when I had you on the podcast. Which, again, by the way, sorry I didn't make it more clear what it was.
Dude, I'm a dumb fuck. You're good. You're good.
Well, because I actually never thought of the idea that you might think I was joking when I said it.
I'm a dumb fuck. It's all good. You know how to do dumb fuck. He did, for the record. I think I said it on stream. You told me the day before, like, it's like a 6-hour plus thing. And I was like, okay. I thought it was
I should have, because I know I'm familiar with your work, so I should have noticed, like, wait, he wouldn't want to be here for 6 hours, I don't think, because you shit tons of stuff on the day. So, but yeah, you know, it's all right. Anyway, the funny part is, like, the 2 hours left of the conversation, once you had left, that was like the main portion I wanted you to be there for. So it's just like bad timing, because yeah, I really wanted to talk to you about, it's not just the fact that, like, what did you think of Everything Everywhere All at Once and what did it mean, but more so, why did that film work better for you than a lot of films that tackle the same subject matter, basically?
What were the comparable films that you were looking at?
Well, if we went as broad as saying, like, the film covers trying to draw meaning out of a meaningless existence, instead of being more specific. I mean, there's probably a couple of films that maybe you could draw on, but I'm assuming, what I'm trying to get at is, like, I assume it did something with the way that it gave its message that was more appealing to you than would make you remember other attempts at it with storytelling. But I'm not sure if I've got any examples offhand.
Yeah, I guess that, if I look at a movie like The Matrix, right? Maybe we can roughly say that The Matrix is similar.
Yeah, sure. I think this movie hardcore references it, so.
Yeah, it does. And actually, I think The Matrix is literally... there must be a line where Agent Smith is talking to Neo, and he says something. Does he say something like, why won't you die, or why do you keep getting up, or whatever? And then Neo's like, because I choose to. Is this a line in The Matrix, or am I making this up?
No, you're right. I just haven't seen Matrix in long enough.
Yeah, I want to say this either happens at the end or towards the end or something. I'm pretty sure there's this line in The Matrix, and that's supposed to represent, like, the overcoming of nihilism into existentialism, right? You're making the choice to create meaning or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that the Matrix does a decent job at that, but the message of The Matrix is very much philosophical, and you can't relate to it at all on a personal level, because most of us aren't fighting like robot civilizations in an AI-generated world on a day-to-day basis, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas in the Everything Everywhere All at Once movie, the existential plight is very much grounded in the very human experience of like how we relate to each other in our families, right? So I thought that way of making that kind of like struggle more relatable, I thought was cool.
I think that's fair, but would someone not just argue like, well, it's the equivalent of the Matrix's battle against the robots is that they've got a multiversal, like, textual story going on, which is crazy and absurd? Would that be equivalent, or?
Yeah, I'm not trying to say one is better or worse, or anything.
No, yeah, I know. I just mean,
I just think that the groundings of, I don't even think of the multiverse stuff when I think of that Everything Everywhere All at Once movie. It's almost like it's very much like in the background for me. Like the multiple stories going on are the conflict between the father and the mother, and the conflict between the mother and the daughter, and then the conflict between the mother and herself. Those are like the three things that I think about that are all very human. And it was a multiverse movie, I guess, but that's just not like, the multiverse was only used as a means to an end to explore that interpersonal conflict between the family members and between the mom and herself, I think. Whereas in the Matrix, that's kind of like the point of the movie is like defeating the Matrix and then Neo, becoming like a cool god or whatever. And then the philosophical stuff is there, but it's a little bit more, you don't have to think about it. You can take a backseat for like the movie, I guess.
I think you're right, in terms of, but I would probably be able to dismiss both of their texts, if you will, to talk about like exactly what they're both trying to get at, because like in Everything Everywhere All at Once, like this is what I had to praise the movie with, is the fact that it didn't have multiverse as a gimmick. It wasn't like, hey, want to see multiversal travelers go through the world, and then it sneaks in a family drama or something. I actually felt like they leveraged the fact that the multiverse existed as a way to explore lost potential, right? Like
which is
a big part of the movie.
I think if you talk to older sci-fi people, people will say that science fiction is never ever about the science fiction. Science fiction is just a vehicle to explore very human things. This would have been like the ideology behind like some of the earlier like Star Trek series, where like they're like people that travel around the universe and all that kind of, but really it's like a way to explore other facets of human existence. Or if you look at like really famous novels like Ender's Game or whatever, right? Is it like, it's not really a book about like a kid being or whatever. It's like the interpersonal conflict between the universe and between him and himself. It's like a coming of age story, right? Yeah, that's like a one approach to science fiction. I'm not saying one is right or wrong, but
yeah, no, that makes sense. So yeah, I guess where I was going to go from that then was, because it scored so high for you, like, I'd be curious to know if that's what is required for you to sort of score them high. Because you mentioned Aliens and T2, which are two of my favorite films, but would you give similar arguments, or would you start arguing it's like, well, no, these are more so because of how great the action is, or how great the characters are, or something like that?
Yeah, Aliens and Terminator 2 are both great movies that are really great action movies. They're just really good action movies. They're very formulaic, they follow it very well, and they're just really cool. I don't know what else to say. I don't think I like elevate these to like, I'm not learning. Like, I'm never like, at the end of like Aliens or Terminator 2, I'm not taking like a minute or two to process what I've seen in the movie. It was just like, it's just a really cool action movie.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, because I was going to say, like, even those two will have, they've got stuff to say, right? Like, if you think about, did you see the extended cut of Aliens, or was it the original, like the director's cut? I can't remember what the cut's called, but in the opening, we find out that Ripley's daughter has already grown up and died. Like,
oh yeah, there's like the scene where the guy's got her in the debriefing room, and he's like, your daughter was like 73, she was a traveler or like a trade person or something like it. Yeah, and then she's already dead, and that's when Sigourney Weaver finds out how old she is for the character.
Yeah, which I think is like a really strong through line in the film, was like the bond between mother and daughter. And the fact that we've got an alien queen in this one compared to the first, it's like, it feels like they've got stuff going on in there that's ready to be dug out, but there's so much value on, like, dare I say, the textual level, that it can distract from even considering the subtext. But Everything Everywhere All at Once is so, like, I would argue, like, the last third of the film, it really doesn't care if you're following, like, the mechanics of the multiverse stuff. At that point, it's giving you all the payoff. Like, having the grandpa, like, grabbing her with his fucking sci-fi printer chair thing, just like, that's got nothing to do with any of that. It's all him trying to say, like, advise her on what to do with her gay daughter, basically. Like, that's what's actually happening, which is like commendable as hell. Like, I think it's super interesting. While something like Aliens and T2 will probably just keep going right up until the end with
what's
main
actually happening
stories.
in the story. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are very clearly like action story-oriented action sci-fi things that are meant to be enjoyed as like action-oriented sci-fi things. I think.
And so that was what I would assume then would conclude how you would put Everything Ever All at Once at the top. It's like it's running on so many tracks at once that it's like the most impressive of all the films you consider to be great. Is that
Yeah, I
close
just
to
thought
where
it did
you're
everything exceedingly well, like almost perfectly.
Yeah.
I like the message and everything. Yeah, I just but I mean, it's clearly a different genre than other things too. I don't know.
Well, because how much do you appreciate then? Because like I actually thought that they did a really good job with their multiversal mechanics, but it sounds like you don't really care about whether or not they did it or not.
Yeah, I didn't care at all at the end. I thought they did a really good job with it. I thought it was pretty accessible, pretty easy to understand. But
Yeah,
it wasn't the big point of the movie for me. It could have been said a few different ways, but yeah.
Because like the way I'd separate this out is that the movie's ideas on its own, they could have been delivered in a couple of different ways in terms of like what fiction they want to run with. I think they did a really good job with this one, but had they not, let's say it was filled with like inconsistencies and plot holes and stuff, I assume you wouldn't really give a shit. You're more invested in what ideas they were putting forward.
I mean, sometimes plot holes can become distractingly bad, but oftentimes I just won't care as much. It just kind of depends. So like Interstellar is a movie with a couple of really huge plot holes, but I don't really care that much, you know?
Maybe we'll talk about that film one day.
Maybe. Or do you agree or do you disagree? Or?
Well, so once upon a time I was a huge fan of Nolan because Dark Knight and Prestige, and then I watched Interstellar in cinema, and it's the movie I've come one of the closest to leaving the cinema. I was so fucking annoyed watching that film.
Jesus, how? It's Interstellar.
It's like one of the most insulting movies to the audience ever if you start actually paying attention to everything they're trying to make you believe. I was actually curious about this, some stuff.
I'm gonna say if you're gonna say that, I'm gonna attack you ruthlessly over the Batman trilogy, because those movies are, firstly, okay, Nolan is really great at setting up these huge epic payoff moments that are so fucking cool. But if you look at any of the Batman films closely, the plots are unimaginably fucking stupid.
Well, for my own safety, I'll just ignore that for now and be like, that's a fair opinion you have.
Hold on. So like, let's think. And The Dark Knight Rises, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain to me how the fuck is there a massive terrorist attack on the largest stock exchange in the world, and then the next day somehow Bruce Wayne goes totally bankrupt and nobody stops and thinks like, I wonder if these two events are connected? And everybody's like, oh, no, Bruce Wayne was an idiot, he went bankrupt with his company, and now it's gonna be taken over by another dude. No way, come on. There are so many plot holes. Or why is this, when Bruce Wayne climbs out of the prison that has, by the way, all the worst and most horrible fucking people in the world, actually, this season's pretty true. When he climbs out, why does he throw the rope down afterwards for all of them to climb out of the fucking prison? Are these the worst people in the world that are locked down there?
Hey, to be fair, that's the one of the trilogy that everyone hates. So if you're gonna want to attack one,
I love The Dark Knight Rises. I think it's
you love it.
Yeah, I thought it's fucking awesome. When he comes back and he drops the flare on the ground when we thought that Gordon everybody's gonna die, and he's like, light it up, and then the fucking bat thing. Yeah, of course, that movie has so many great payoffs. But it also has a lot of really fucking stupid plot holes too. You just don't look at it too closely. You don't like The Dark Knight Rises, really?
No, I've always hated that movie. But for the sake of angering massive amounts of people, I try to avoid shit on Nolan too much. Except Interstellar, I like shit on Interstellar. It's funny.
Why do you jeez, wow, so many controversial Batman takes. Why do you what was so angering for you with Interstellar? I'm curious.
All right, well, one of the first things, this movie is set in our world, but like I think 20 or 30 years later, they have made it public. Like institutionally taught that everything we did in space was a lie. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
The whole world has bought this except for Coop, who is like, this is fucking crazy and insane. And his daughter is bullied at school for believing that it's... Well, no, she bullies people at school because they're telling her that, yeah,
oh my god, are you gonna make me defend Interstellar? Oh no.
Why the... Wait, I thought you said you loved it. Why wouldn't you defend it?
Well, because every Nolan movie past The Prestige is way too ambitious. He needed like an editor or somebody to hone in his shit, and he would have had perfect movies, but instead there were so many plot holes. So my reading of Interstellar, what you're talking about there is, one, Coop was an actual pilot, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So one, and then two, they lived, where they were living at that point in time was like a farmer community where people were just trying to learn how to like save crops and shit. Yeah, so I don't think it's so much that like my takeaway, and I'd have to go back and I'd have to go back and watch it, and I could be wrong on this, I'll admit. My takeaway wasn't that, like, when they were talking to the school administrators, that all of them were like, oh, of course the moon landings were fake, blah, 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 blah. It was more just like, bro, we are having, like, an epidemic on Earth. We need farmers, not fucking pilots, okay? We're not going to planets anytime soon. We need your
Oh, I wish it was more so like that, but they look at him like he's an idiot when he suggests that the moon landing happened.
Were they looking at him like an idiot, or were they looking at him like, why are you focused on this?
No, so she says that was a hoax done to try and make Russia waste their time and money on space programs. Like, how do you not know this? To him, which is fucking crazy to me.
Okay, it might be. Can I watch this real quick? I'm just curious.
Yeah, go for it.
It's been a long time since I've seen this. So you're taking
Careful about copyright, I guess, right? I don't
give a fuck.
Alright.
Okay. You want to tell me something? It's a 4-minute scene, is that okay?
I will.
Okay, alright.
You've come to kill me. So, got Tom's scores back.
Wake up.
He's gonna make an excellent farmer.
Oh, Mr. Root. You almost tricked me.
Well, the university only takes a handful. They don't really have the resources.
I still pay my taxes. Now, where's that money go? There's no more army.
No, it doesn't go to the university. Coop, you have to be realistic.
Oh, shit! Fuck. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I have to mute for a second. This will get me copyrighted. Give me a second, guys. I have to watch this. Yeah, I see the little warning pop up. Okay, hold on. I'll be back in a... I'll 1.5 times it. Here, I'll link the scene for you guys. I'll be back 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
I like talking to you, Dream.
Rampage.
Every time I hold my branch, I see the trees. Look around the bed. But times the charm. Dreams live on, even after the dreamer. Quiet things are strong. That's
Okay, I watched it. The school administrators do think the moon landing was fake. Do you really think we landed on the moon, though? Okay, but your issue is that,
Okay, so my issue is that the whole culture of Earth, they want to set it up so that we've become so farmer-focused that our ambitions to leave into the stars become crippled,
Gotcha.
and that NASA's current mission is to try and rescue that last spark so that we can get out there and save what's left of humanity. I appreciate that idea. I think the execution is fucking balls. I think that the idea that the world would agree to treat in like 20 or 30 years the moon landing as a hoax, there's people in America who would consider that so fucking offensive for fight a war over it for all I know. Like, I don't believe for a second that that would become a commonly understood cultural thing. And it's also baffling that this is news to Coop, when it's being taught institutionally, like throughout the country, he's like,
Sure.
oh, what? We're
Yeah,
not
that's
teaching
fair.
the...
How would he not know about any of this, or how is this the first time he's heard it, or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's and you know what? I could totally see someone being like, "Why the fuck does this matter?" And I'd be like, "It's just one of the many, because that's near the beginning." And it was where already I was like, "Okay, that's stupid, but fine." And there's a lot of those in the film.
I can buy that, but I feel like the Batman films gotta be literally these things. But okay.
You know what? I don't disagree with you. I'm just not allowed to say that publicly, okay? People like Batman.
I like Batman too. I feel like
Well,
after,
there you go. That's the interesting question then. How does it work for you? Like, are there movies where like plot holes are more relevant or less relevant depending on like?
Yeah, it's gonna depend on the type of movie that's being set up. Do you watch anime at all?
I've watched like 5.
Have you watched like Death Note?
No.
Oh fuck. If you were watching like a detective movie or something, and there were big plot holes, then we'd probably have really big problems, right? But if it's just like if it's something different and I'm not supposed to care as much, then you know it's like whatever. So like for instance, if Bruce Wayne is in like one of the worst prisons on Earth, right, and they don't have access to much food, how is he able to train? How does he get enough protein to like sustain like all
How
the
does he fix his
muscles?
back?
Yeah, well, they punch him in the back, I think, right? But these are like questions where it's like I don't care that much, right? I don't need to know this particular thing. That's okay. Yeah, it's just gonna depend on the type of movie. If it's gonna be like a hardcore science fiction movie, so like here, this is kind of a plot hole that kind of bothered me a lot in Interstellar. Okay. They make a really big deal, right, about time dilation, right?
Yeah.
Now, time dilation is accelerated, kind of. If you're at the bottom of a really big gravity well, you're experiencing a lot of time dilation. They make a big deal about that when we're on the planet, right? And like 1/3 of the movie is spent where they're explaining time dilation, all this shit, you know? Why is it that they made such a huge deal about it when he was on the planet? But when the guy literally drives into a fucking black hole, wouldn't that have accelerated his time dilation so much that you're like thousands of years in the future or some shit, and his daughter and everybody would be way, way, way past dead? Why not there?
I'm gonna be honest with you. If I remember correctly, because I actually rewatched it recently, isn't his goal when he first flies into the black hole to just be able to give Doctor the Anne Hathaway
Well, yeah.
character?
So the issue is that there's also issues there, right? You can't get information out of a black hole. So that
No, you can't.
yeah. So that whole thing is really dumb. But and then not to mention the spaghettification, all the other impact. But it was irritating to me that like I don't care about sending information out of a black hole. That's fine, whatever. Okay, I can bend my mind for science fiction. But it was the fact that they made such a huge deal out of the time dilation bullshit. But then when the black hole part happened, all of a sudden time dilation totally didn't matter anymore, which I thought was kind of dumb. But
Yeah, no, that's kind of where I'm at. Like I don't know, it's setting rules that you need for your own story stakes and then
breaking
with those
them
rules.
is irritating.
Yeah.
That's why I was going to bring up Death Note. Death Note is like an anime where it very, very rigidly establishes a whole bunch of rules, and then all of the characters play within the bounds of those rules to try to outsmart each other. But if they would have gotten halfway through the anime and then started either introducing new rules or breaking those, then I would have been like, oh, well, now this is really stupid. Now the plot hole is really impacting me in terms of how much I can enjoy this piece of media.
Yeah, I get Death Note recommended every once in a while. I've seen FMA Brotherhood. Have you seen that?
No. But I'm familiar with
man.
Full Metal Alchemist and stuff.
Because you're probably more of an anime person than I am, which is
Maybe, yeah.
embarrassing for you, but that's okay. Have you seen One Punch Man?
Your team has
No, I haven't watched anything new because I'm trying to stream and do everything too much.
Well, so One Punch Man, like, I would fucking recommend the shit out of that because that's a self-aware anime. Like, it references like a lot of the tropes of anime that are pretty cringe a lot of the time and makes use of them. It's fucking great.
Yeah, of course, the whole point of the show.
Kind of, yeah. Well, I mean, at the same time, it's still running with, like, I think it's one of the best sort of approaches to how can you make a character who's just all-powerful interesting. It's a tough one. Saitama's pretty fucking awesome. But yeah. On Death Note, by the way, I was made aware of arguments you had made in relation to looking at, it was ER's breakdown of Death Note. Internet Nazi, you know him, right?
Maybe, I don't know. But what about it?
So you got really angry when you were covering his coverage of the Death Note movie because he kept referring to the original, and you were getting all mad because
was I getting mad?
adaptation.
I think so. This is my thing, okay? Actually, I think I mentioned this even when I was on the show. Some things are suited really well to certain mediums, and it's really cool to watch a medium elevate itself in the ways that only that medium can. So, for instance, for that Everything Everywhere All at Once, all of the different scene transitions to like different worlds, I don't think that would work as a book, right? I don't think you can narrate like now we're fucking pinatas and now we're like rocks. And, like it just doesn't work in a narrated form. Because power plays are just on film. On film, looks really cool. Animes have very distinct styles with the way the fighting is done, with the way the characters like turn upside down when something very, very unique anime. If you try to do a one-to-one adaptation for anime onto the screen, you're gonna lose a lot of what made anime work. If somebody wants to try to do an adaptation and they make it like in like they start changing things a ton, I'm actually more okay with that. I like the concept of the Death Note movie more than somebody just trying to do a one-to-one adaptation. Now I think the movie sucks for a variety of reasons, but I think we should be able to evaluate why the movie sucks without constantly referring back to the anime. It doesn't suck because it didn't refer to the anime close enough, because it didn't fall. It sucked because it was a bad movie in its own right. And I think that was my main irritation, because it felt like when he was criticizing the movie, he just kept saying, they changed this character so much, and this character is totally different, and this character, and that plot didn't work, blah, blah, blah. Just evaluate the movie. Stop trying to say, like, what isn't the same as the anime. It's clearly not the anime. It's a movie. It's a different thing. That was my issue.
So, funnily enough, I get in loads of trouble because I opt to use that exact same system. So when I cover, like, you know, the newest fucking Marvel thing, people will be like, do you even know what the character was in the comics? And I'm like, I don't care. I'm trying to say that it's bad from not adaptation point of view. But then the Halo show comes out, and a lot of my fans are confused because they were like, why are you talking about the original so much now? You didn't used to with, like, the other source material stuff. And I was like, okay, so clearly I haven't communicated this very well. When I talk about adaptation, I've got the controversial statement, I assume you'll agree with this, that how accurate it is to the original has basically zero bearing on how good it is itself. And then I try to come up with some crazy hypotheticals, inspired directly by you, where I'll be like, imagine Lord of the Rings, the movies come out, but they were called Harry Potter. Do they suddenly become bad movies? And most people are like, well, yeah, because they'd be horrible adaptations. And I'd be like, well, if that was the only change, it'd be fucking weird, because we'd all be saying they stolen Lord of the Rings' content. But, you know, it's like you try and extend the logic to all these different kinds of things. But anyway, why is it different with Halo? And it's like, well, it's not necessarily different at all. It's just that being familiar with the source, as could be argued with Death Note, when you see someone's adapted something and they take, let's say you have a character with ABC trait and all three traits lead to a particular event, if they only adapt the trait B and they forget A and C, but they're getting to that same payoff, you can then draw from, like, the original how they fucked this up. Because if they don't take the traits that lead to the event, now it's going to create inconsistencies for their own story, but you can see how they did it with the blueprint. Like, do you know anything about the Halo show?
I've heard a lot of bad things about it, but I don't know anything
It's
about it.
fucking hideously bad, and it's like they've got the aesthetic down. Like, loads of, I don't know what happened. Like, the art director must have pulled everything from the games to the point where fans are pretty happy with how accurate everything looks, but nothing is accurate to, like, how it's written. And like, just as an example, Chief has Cortana put into his brain as opposed to a chip that goes into his suit or into different consoles and stuff. That change alone, right, in isolation, you could be like, yeah, you're adapting it, you can do that, that can lead to places, but it locks out a bazillion different payoffs in the games that require that to be the case. And so you're like, so now they're going to have a knock-on effect where they have to adapt everything according to the way that they've gotten it, but they, like, don't give a fuck. So you end up having all these kinds of payoffs, and this applies to, this is what ER was trying to do with Death Note, I think, at least from, I haven't seen Death Note, so I can't say for myself, but from the video, he was trying to establish, like, Light's characteristics and how they're supposed to lead to particular payoffs. But in the show, you're getting those same payoffs, but you haven't got the characteristics set up.
If that's what he's trying to do, he sounds like he sucked at it, because I didn't understand it at all, but, or maybe I just watched it shittily, but, I'd have to go back and check, but, yeah, I mean, I can understand that if that's the case.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, as long as you follow the argument, that's good enough. I was just curious if you...
I mean, I can understand that
pushback for it. Excellent. So, you hated Game of Thrones Season 8, yeah?
No way, dude. You can't possibly do this. You're about to fucking troll.
I think I'm going to say I liked it.
Are you about to troll the fuck out of me?
No, there's things I want to talk to you about. That's what I fucking have several videos explaining my horrifying rage over those terrible, terrible episodes. So I'm going to talk to you about it. Like, what was it that killed it for you? Was it the characters? Was it the plot?
Okay,
or...
I didn't watch Game of Thrones for the longest of time for two reasons. One is because I don't really like knights and horses and shit. It's just not my scene. I don't really care that
Yeah, it's
much.
pretty gay. True.
Sure. Don't really care about that stuff. And two, every time I heard somebody describe this show, it sounded soy as fuck. They killed all the characters. They killed everybody died. You like and it just sounds like anti-memes. I'm like, okay, wow, they killed.
Yeah.
I don't care about that soy as fuck. when I there was some girl on Tinder, and when I was over here, she was like, "Oh, you should watch my world." So I started watching Game of Thrones. And I think I ended up watching the full first season, and I really loved the show. The first season was awesome. And what I realized was that like this show is cool because it's a show of like rippling consequence. Now, typically, when something happens in a TV show, there's usually a quick catch or a way to fix things, or there's this deus ex machina that will get characters out of bad spots, and there's always like something to kind of save the main character. But in Game of Thrones, like something that somebody does on one end of the world might ripple out to the total other end, and everything is like interconnected. And I really like that kind of world. Game of Thrones is not a show where they like, oh, they kill all the cool characters. It's a show where like somebody could technically take all the morally correct actions, arguably, like Ned Stark, but they still die because of how other people in the world are operating. And that was interesting to me. By the 4th or 5th season of that show, they totally axed that, and we went from having these like pretty complicated, really interesting characters that all were interacting with each other, even when they were halfway across the world, to just having like a few characters with uber ultra plot armor that were incredibly disconnected from one another. Nothing that happened north of the wall with Jon Snow really mattered. Bran went off on his own direction. Arya went off on her own direction. Like none of these people were connected anymore. There were no more consequences. Jon Snow could never die. Like Arya, obviously, we're watching 20 episodes of her and some other boring fuckers. Like she's not gonna die. Like everything just became disconnected and lack of consequences. It turned into like Lord of the Rings, which I love Lord of the Rings, but I'm not watching Game of Thrones for Lord of the Rings. Like I don't want to see Aragorn fucking rise from the ashes and kill a bunch of people like an awesome hero moment, because that's not what Game of Thrones is supposed to be about. And that's what bothered me about what Game of Thrones turned into. Yeah.
See, that's a much more detailed answer. I was just gonna say it was really shit, but fair enough. Can't believe you just drug fucking Lord of the Rings into this. That's so rude.
Well, because like Lord of the Rings is a very, very, very basic archetypical story about like good and evil, good guys, bad guys. Like, yeah. Not that there's nothing
like,
wrong with it. That's awesome. There's a lot of shows that are like that, and I like that. Batman is like
yeah,
that,
like
right?
if you gave like a scale for all the good to evil characters in Game of Thrones, you got a shit ton of gray, I guess. What you're saying?
Yeah. Well, early on you did, but then later on, like Cersei is just a bad person. Ramsay is just a bad person, and like every scene is showing you how bad he is. Like, I'm raping women and having them eaten with dogs because that's how much of a horrible person I am. And Cersei's like, I want to kill everybody, burn them all dragons. And Jaime's like, I didn't care about any of them anyway. Like, and then Jon Snow's like, I'm the goodest good person in the whole world, and everything I do is good. And it's like,
yeah, because the show used to have teeth, right? Like, because it would kill Ned for doing everything right, and then his son pretty much does everything right, and he gets killed as well.
Everything,
I know,
right? Yeah, exceedingly well, yeah.
Meanwhile, a character like Tywin will make all of the pragmatic decisions because he's like aware of how complicated and rough this world is. By the way, the show died with him. He died in season 4, episode 9. And
yeah,
like
it was
every
after
episode...
the Viper fight with the mountain and everything, and after that conclusion, and then him. Yeah, as soon as Tyrion left, everything was just the show just got completely fucked.
They had no idea how to write him once he left.
Well, no, the issue is that the issue is Daenerys, okay? I don't know if you were aware of this, but she was fucking poisoned to every fucking character that came in contact with her. Every time a character got drafted into Daenerys' timeline, the coolest characters in the world would become boring. Think of Sir Barristan. What was Sir Barristan?
They all fell in love with her.
What was Sir Barristan's final fucking scene? Leaving the fucking capital, he like takes his sword out and he threatens to kill every fucking king's guard and fucking behead Jon. He was the coolest fucking motherfucker. And then he goes to Daenerys like, oh, he's my queen, my queen, my queen. It happens to Tyrion, cool little smart dude, like coolest dude in the world. And then every scene he's just like, oh, well, this is how we control the free city. Blah, blah. And even fucking even Varys, who was like one of the smartest like fucking behind the scenes dudes in the entire fucking land, somehow gets caught by dipshit Daenerys writing letters warning people. Come on, dude, and then gets burned by the dragon.
Oh man,
dude, every single person that Daenerys touched, she had like the fucking what do you call the guy that turned everything into gold? Midas's touch. For every character that she touched, she turned him into absolute fucking garbage. And then like, I don't know if you realize, but in the first part of Game of Thrones, every single time there was a scene change, you were hooked. Because every new like scene were awesome characters. It was either like the Hound and Arya. Every scene with them was awesome. Any scene having Tywin was awesome, period. Any scene with any of the Starks was cool. Even the Jon Snow stuff in the Wall was cool. Like every single time. And then later on in the season, all I kept thinking was every time a scene change happened, please God, don't show me any more Sam and Gilly. Please no. Oh yeah, please no fucking Daenerys. Please God, I don't want to fucking see. Oh God, like, and it's God, it was so horrible. Fuck, it was so horrible. The Sand Snakes, don't show me anything. Oh my God.
See, how come you didn't make like? Because I was waiting for you. I remember you being like in some hotel or something when you were talking about it. I was like, why the hell isn't he making more videos on this? You seem actually passionate about Game of Thrones getting destroyed.
Because I don't think my takes are even as mainstream as I would think they would be. I got into a huge argument. One of the worst episodes of any TV show I've ever seen in my entire life was one of the was when
The beauty of the
oh.
world.
the fucking fuck! I hate it so much. The Battle of the Bastards or whatever.
Uh-huh.
That was a classic Game of Thrones episode where Jon Snow deserved to die. Ramsay did every single thing necessary that he needed to win that, and literally at the end of the fight, Aragorn shows up with the army of the undead to clear everything. And the thing that I hated the most about that dog shit, trash fucking episode, that garbage episode, is they gave you the cheapest, most bullshit emotion